Hi guys, welcome back to Crime Time with Jess. We're going to do an update stream on the Menendez brothers, Gypsy Rose, and P. Diddy. Something new to report in each one of those cases. The Menendez brothers, I think it's looking a little bleaker for them these days. If you guys have been keeping up, you'll know that DA Gascon, essentially put into motion for them to be resentenced and probably be released. Unfortunately for the brothers, Gascon lost his reelection bid for DA, and a new DA was elected, and that DA is DA Hochman. And I got to tell you, I was listening to him a couple days ago. He did an interview from his house about the Menendez case. It didn't sound very promising. He was talking about being voted in on safety. He said that's why people voted for him. They wanted to feel safer. And so, I was just listening to that and I was thinking to myself, well, if they voted you in for safety, they didn't feel very safe with Gascon. How is that going to look for you if one of the first things you do is release two double murders? So the way he was talking just didn't sound that good. But I wanna watch something with you guys. This was on Good Morning America. Let's see where that's at. Oh, that's Court TV. That is not the one I'm looking for. I think we'll listen to this one because Gavin Newsom,
I took two things that
the governor of California, has spoke his piece about this, which is also not in the brothers' favor, in my opinion, because he could just grant them clemency and they could be released. But he's decided against that. So we're going to watch this.
I love, dancing and dogs, and I made them into a successful business. Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'm the owner of Kitatov, and I teach people all over the world how to dance with their dogs on my website. I was searching for a platform where I can really manage my business, a place that can help me share my knowledge and create a community around.
Of the Menendez brothers, LA's newly elected district attorney weighed in on their case, spoke with Kana Whitworth, who joins us from Los Angeles. Good morning, Kana.
Yeah, George, good morning to you. So as Nathan Hochman prepares to take over as district attorney on December 2nd, he says for him to make any kind of decision, he would need to read through both trial transcripts, prison records, and re-interview law enforcement and family members.
You really got to get beyond the Netflix documentary.
As calls to free Eric and Lyle Menendez grow louder with promises the pair would be home by Thanksgiving, newly elected Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hochman says if the infamous case lands on his desk, he would have a lot to review before making a decision.
If you decide this case based on just viewing a Netflix documentary, you're doing a disservice to the Menendez brothers, to the victim family members, to the public.
The former federal prosecutor unseated incumbent George Gascon in a landslide and questions the motivation of Gascon's decision so close to the election.
Part of the problem with the Gascon timing of his decision is there's a cloud over that credibility. Is it a just decision, or was it just a political ploy? There will be no cloud over whatever decision I do.
Gascon denies his support for the brothers' release was politically motivated.
But I believe that they should be released, and they should be released cleanly within the law.
The brothers have spent 35 years in prison for the 1989 murder of their parents, sentenced to life without parole.
I, Joseph Lau Menendez, am destined for greatness.
The recent Netflix drama series and separate documentary propelling the case into the spotlight again.
Young people have taken the time to figure out what happened.
A new generation taking to social media to rally around the brothers, citing their claims of sexual abuse. And while a judge reviews the case, Hochman promising diligence.
And I'm not going to ask for delay just for delay's sake. We'll ask for the minimal amount of time necessary to do this work because we owe it to the Menendez brothers, we owe it to the public to get this decision right.
And so right now,
It's really, let me let her finish.
a judge is weighing the alleged new evidence, and a hearing is set for that later this month, as well as a December hearing for the possibility of resentencing. But also, if he wanted to, the governor could grant clemency at any time. Michael?
All right, Kana, thank you.
Something magical this way.
And like I said, the governor said no, that he is not granting any clemency to them. Did that sound very promising to you? Because the thing that I watched was more lengthy than that. But that just doesn't sound very promising. I mean, he's over here questioning, did Gascon do this just to get reelected, or do they actually deserve to be let out? And my problem with that is Gascon's office did spend like 18 months going over all of this stuff, going over it with the family, going over it, with their attorney, Mark Geragos. All of this has already been done. And then he loses this election, and here comes this new DA, Hochman, who wants to do that all over again and then make his own decision about it. I ultimately, I guess I think the brothers are going to get out, but it does look a lot bleaker for them, especially with Gavin Newsom just outright saying, I'm not granting clemency to them. I will leave it up to the people who elected the new DA-elect, and it'll be up to them. So, again, he could just end this right now. He's choosing not to. I don't think that's a good thing. If you guys have thoughts, don't be afraid to comment. Okay, so next thing, we're going to move on to Gypsy Rose Blanchard. So, with Gypsy Rose, there's been controversy since she's gotten out of jail, let's be honest. Ever since she's cheated on her husband, got pregnant by her ex-fiance, the hate for her has grown and grown and grown. It's now reached this fever pitch. We have multiple creators who their entire channels are dedicated to her. That's really all the content that they put out is solely about her and whatever is going on in her life, or whatever they think is going on in her life, or whatever they're being told is going on in her life. So it was announced by another creator. Her name is Flawless Nina. And she came out very, very manic-like. But she came out very manic-like and, said, oh my God, Ken has left Gypsy. They're broken up. He can't, he's tired of defending her and all this kind of thing. And I watched that video. And I just thought to myself, okay, well, there's no proof. There still isn't any proof. There's no tangible proof. Nina has said, I would not say this if it wasn't true, because I'm not going to put my reputation on the line. She says that she has a really good source. She's doubled down on this source, that she believes this source. But the problem is that, again, there's just no evidence of this whatsoever. On the day that Nina announced this, Gypsy Rose had her baby shower. And as you can see, there's her and Ken at the baby shower together, him hugged up behind her. I don't know what to believe. Gypsy's such an impulsive person that it's not hard to believe that they would have broken up one day and gotten back together the next. Very well could have happened. I don't actually know. I don't think Nina is lying. It's possible she got bad information, even though she's saying that she didn't. She's very much, double, tripling down on this information. And again, it just could be true, but maybe they broke up for the night and it was a big to-do. But Nina has also said, Ken's car hasn't been there for the week. Only a couple of times for a very short period of time, when his car is usually there a lot, all of the time. So, but we're going to watch this really quickly.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken have both denied the rumors that are circulating that the two of them have separated. And Ken actually just posted this photo today. This is from the baby shower that was held for Gypsy on Saturday. Ken was in attendance, as well as about 25 friends and family. And Ken titled the photo saying, "Our baby girl is almost here." Gypsy Rose Blanchard and Ken have both.
And that's really that. Last night, Sir Morbid usually does really, really long live streams on Gypsy Rose, like every other day or something. I don't know exactly when, but quite often. And they were doing a panel last night, and Christy Blanchard, who is Gypsy's mother, stepmother, as Ryan Anderson would call her, Gypsy's fake mother. But she went on a live with Natasha Cooper, which I don't know Natasha Cooper. I've heard things, but I don't know that creator. Heard she got kicked off YouTube, so I guess she's on TikTok now. But Christy Blanchard went on a live with her and said that this is absolutely not true. They have not broken up. That it was a bunch of hogwash, basically. But she also said that they're looking for the snake, in their camp. And people are pointing to that as, well, if it wasn't true, why would you have a snake in your camp? You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a whole thing. Gypsy's life is a mess. And when I think about this, honestly, expecting this person to get out of jail, I really don't know what everyone was thinking, including myself. But expecting her to get out of jail and act normal, I guess, it's just probably not going to happen. And I think about this a lot with the Menendez brothers. What is the likelihood that they're released from jail? Okay? And I'm not saying they shouldn't be. These are just little thoughts that float through my mind. But what are the odds that they're going to get out and just live these normal, straight-laced lives? Because I just don't feel like that's realistic. They have very little life experience. I mean, Eric's been locked up since he was 18 years old. Lyle, 21 years old. So they just have virtually no life experience. I think they had 7 months or so of freedom from their, living life without their parents before they were locked up for killing their parents. And then they've lived the rest of the time in jail. So what is it like for a 53 and a 57-year-old man to get out of jail after 35 years, have no real life experience? What does that look like? What does that look like for them? And the public, I genuinely worry about them if they are released with social media. And I know I sound like a broken record with this. It's just that I see it all the time. So I just feel like if they get out, it's going to be a lot harder transition, I think, than they're prepared for. I think they can only be prepared so much, because once they get out, something I noticed the other night, okay, I was rewatching the Gypsy Rose Life After Lockup, and the first episode, I mean, within hours of her getting out, there was a cell phone put into her hands. And that's a big thing for somebody that has been in jail. Even for the 8 years she was in jail, things have changed dramatically. Imagine being in jail for 35 years before cell phones were really a thing, and having access to the entire world. I just think that stuff like that is going to be tremendously overwhelming, and I wonder how they navigate through that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think that they're going to make mistakes because they're human and because they have no life experience. And I could just see the public like turning on them in a similar way that they did with Gypsy. I saw Becca Scoops make a video about this sort of, and she said, the Menendez brothers are different because they're actually remorseful for their crime and blah, 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 blah. They're not different. They're not. They both of these cases, Gypsy Rose's case and the Menendez case, they both killed their parents. They both have claimed abuse, and they're just not all that different in that way because there's still people, I see them in the comment sections all the time. The overwhelming majority is in favor of the brothers getting out and supportive of that. But you still have those people that say, absolutely not, they should not be released, they are murderers, blah, blah, blah. This is exactly the way it was when Gypsy got out. The overwhelming majority was supportive, but you had those people that did not want her to get out. And, she screwed up majorly, cheated on her husband again, got pregnant, blah, 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 blah. And the hatred at this moment is just fever pitch for her. It's like the virtual pitchforks are out for anything she says or does. She's just hated for it. And I could see the Menendez brothers going the same way. If one of their marriages doesn't work out, I can see people saying, wow, what an asshole. This lady waited for you for 20 years. How dare you leave her? I could just see all this stuff because these are not perfect human beings. They're extremely flawed with no life experience. Again, it's so, yeah, I could just see this going in the way that Gypsy stuff has gone. Even though I know people say, no, we like them, we support them. And I'm like, yeah, well, okay. The public is very finicky and they change their mind very quickly. So that just would not surprise me whatsoever. We're going to go to the P. Diddy stuff because, good gracious. You know what? Again, the Kim Porter buck remains on my mind because it's just such a shocking thing to listen to. And I really do want to play that for you guys because it was really good. The lady that read it out that I watched, she was really good at kind of bringing it to life. But for now, I guess Diddy is attempting to blackmail victims through phone calls in jail, which is not surprising. Okay, so we're going to watch Jesse Weber here on Long Crime.
Materials he views as helpful to his case, and contacted witnesses through third parties? What? And that's not even half of it, because now we have a better idea of also who may be a key witness in this case. So much to break through, so much to break down. Let me bring on acclaimed criminal defense attorney to the stars, Bradford Cohen, who has famously represented celebrities like Kodak Black and Drake. Thank you so much for coming on, Bradford. I got to start with this bombshell. So the government says, look, you can't let him out because he has already been engaging in obstruction while locked up. They read, the government has reviewed dozens of recordings of BOP jail calls in which the defendant uses telephone accounts of at least 8 other inmates, which is against BOP regulations. Seemingly to avoid law enforcement monitoring, the defendant uses other inmates' PAC numbers to make phone calls to both individuals on the defendant's approved contact list, as well as other individuals who are not on the approved contact list. To obtain or maintain access to other inmates' PAC numbers, the defendant directs others to pay the inmates, including through payment processing apps and BOP account deposits. The defendant also frequently instructs individuals whom he contacts by telephone, including family members and his attorneys, to add other individuals via three-way call. This practice is not authorized by BOP as it helps conceal the identities of the contacted individuals. The government has reviewed multiple calls in which the defendant has instructed parties to dial in third parties, including members and associates of the enterprise and individuals who are not on the defendant's contact list. Bradford, what do we make of this?
So I have to pause here for a second, but I'll just say I already know what this lawyer is going to say, and I'm going to echo him that that is very common in jail. People three-waying people using other people's PAC numbers, I guess as they're called for this jail. But people doing stuff like that is so commonplace. What's not common is the defendant being P. Diddy. Okay, so, and it's a federal case. I mean, the feds are going to listen to every single thing this guy is going to say. So him doing that stuff is just really foolish. And you know darn well his attorney has definitely advised him against it. But I guess when you're used to having the type of power that Diddy has, you know, you just keep doing what you know. And this is what he knows.
Not much.
Really? Not much?
Yeah. So this happens all the time in like every single case. They only make a big deal about it in this case. So the third party calling, when I can tell you in my 30 years, 28 years of practice, third party calling has been done in probably 90% of the cases that I have. In fact, sometimes third party calling to me. So what they would do is they'd get one of their friends on the line, and then that friend would then third party me in. And I always have to tell them, hey, this is an attorney-client privilege. You got a third party on the line. And when you have a third party on the line, anything we say is not attorney-client privilege. Sometimes, and this was really funny, I had a murder case in Tampa where they third partied me in. So it was the defendant calling his friend and his friend calling me. And I knew that the prosecutor was listening, and I didn't.
Oh, I remember warning.
This. I didn't say.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know, hey, listen, we got evidence that are going to.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief. Minimum payments could literally
blow the doors off of them. And I knew she was listening, and I wanted to prove a point to my client. And then we went into court, and she's like, oh, I heard this conversation with Mr. Cohen. It wasn't attorney-client, and he said he's going to blow our doors off with this new evidence. I want to see this new evidence. And, of course, we didn't have that new evidence. Yeah. So the third party, I just wanted to prove that the prosecutors, the smart prosecutors, especially in the Southern District of New York, are listening to every single phone call that you make. That's number one. Number two is, the thing about using other inmates' numbers, that happens a lot too, because they're
getting paid for it? They're getting paid to use it?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, that happens all the time.
And again, the allegation is not only that, but also contacting people who are not on his contact list.
Yeah, because some people don't want to be on your contact list. Some people don't want to be on the government's contact list, because once you're on the contact list, the government now has your name, your phone number. They could tap your phone. A lot of people don't want to be on contact list. So because of that, they might use, you know, Bob Smith's PAC number and to call their friend but they don't understand. It goes by the phone number, right? So, like, if I'm calling from Bob Smith's PAC number, they're looking for the phone number that I'm calling. They're not looking for Sean Combs. So if my number is 555-1212, they could just do a search. Who has called this phone number in the past month? And that's what they do. And then they realize, oh, wait a minute, why is Bob Smith calling this phone number? And then they go back and they listen to the conversation.
Yeah.
Really, what is the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway from this is that when you first get a client, clients might not listen to you, and he might not be listening to his attorney, and his attorney is a very good attorney. He might have told him this at the very beginning. Right. But at the very beginning of cases, you have to tell them every phone call is recorded. Don't think that you're playing cute when you have PAC numbers and you try to call someone else. They're going to find out. Sure. And that's just the way that it is, especially in the feds. So I don't take much of it unless those phone calls are really damning.
By the way, we are not trying to miss.
I'm just going to assume Diddy and what he's facing, that those phone calls are probably damning in some way, shape, or form. You know, because this guy, I mean, he's over here telling his son, get rid of the pizza boxes, and made a whole threat to JC on the phone after telling his son nothing on the phone, and then he proceeds to make a threat against Jay-Z and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the smartest thing, obviously, and the smartest thing is for Diddy to shut up and for his kids to shut up. Do I think that's going to happen? No, because it's Diddy. And yeah, I don't think he's going to do that. But what he's facing, you know, is essentially going to be facing life in prison. It's child sex trafficking with coercion and all of that carry very serious penalties, very serious, you know, sentencing. So Diddy at 55 years old, I think he's going to be looking at a lot of time. And I think he's going to do every showman stunt out of the hat he's ever collected in his life to try to get out of this. But unfortunately for him, he recorded everything. They've got all these tapes. I say it all the time. People lie. Forensic data doesn't. If it's on tape, it's on your phone. Stuff like that just gets people convicted left and right. You know, I seen one of his ex-bodyguards, Diddy's ex-bodyguards, talking about him. Not Gene Deal. It was a different one. But he was saying that he was like, you know, he was like, Diddy's like a serial killer. Like how they keep trophies of their kills. He was like, he keeps trophies of like his sexual, you know, assaults and conquests and all that through video, which is really crazy. But it's true. I mean, you know, they raided his house and took all those videos. But we'll carry on. I haven't watched past this, but I'll watch past this. Hang on.
How do you take 20,000 children in the middle of New York City without anybody seeing? They are being put into buses. They are given certain clothes. Some of them were taken out in boxes. You can call them crates. You can call them caskets of dead people, although they were live children in there.
I mean, we could talk about tunnels all we want. The non-believers will say, where's the proof?
When I go into the tunnels, I can't take my phone, and if you're going to do it, the psychopaths will eliminate you. So some pictures I saw that are real, and I was surprised to see them.
But there are many children down there.
Yes. But they're not in the main rooms. They're in the hidden rooms within the walls of the tunnels.
Do you have an idea of the number of children that we're talking about?
It's huge. It's numbers you can't comprehend.
I'm sorry, I don't usually get stuck on ads, but that one kind of really grabbed me. tunnels with children in there. That's pretty wild. All right, let's finish this Diddy thing.
They say, quote, the defendant also uses a non-authorized third-party messaging service called Contact Me ASAP to obscure his communications. The defendant appears to be using two Contact Me ASAP accounts. First, the defendant's BOP contact list includes a particular email address assigned to the defendant's son, which does not appear to be an account owned by the defendant's son, but instead appears to be an email address connected to Contact Me ASAP. Second, the defendant appears to be using another inmate's Contact Me ASAP account, primarily using email one. The defendant has exchanged hundreds of text messages via Contact Me ASAP with dozens of individuals, including attorneys and individuals who are not on the defendant's contact list. So any issue there?
Again, if he's contacting his attorneys, it's usually, it always is attorney-client privilege, unless there's a third party involved. Some people don't feel comfortable talking to their attorneys on jail calls, even though they know they're not supposed to be listening to those calls. I can tell you, they do listen to some of those phone calls. They're not supposed to. They might not use it in a court of law, but a lot of times you find that they oh, sorry, by accident, I didn't realize it was his attorney until I was 3 minutes in.
Right.
So I don't take much of that unless, like I said, unless they have some damning evidence that he is doing something crazy on those phone calls or he's doing something crazy on that application. Other than that, just using it
I guess the counter argument would be, putting aside what the content is, we'll get to that. If he's breaking the rules of the prison, right? This is not the prison. If he's breaking the rules of the detention center, should he be on the outside? Is he going to flout the rules of his bail? That would be the argument.
Yeah, I mean, that's a better argument, but the problem is that, you know, quote unquote, breaking the rules by making phone calls and things of that nature, unless those phone calls are the prohibited thing. Like if I am calling a witness directly and having direct witness contact by using this kind of obscure messaging and things of that nature, 100%. But I think just because he uses third-party calls, that's like, you know, like I said, 99% of the cases do that.
Okay, so let me, there's just so much to get to, so I want to get through everything with you. So the prosecutors have indicated that they will produce these calls to Combs and his lawyers through a filter team prior to what is a scheduled bail hearing on November 22nd, 2024. We're going to be covering that on Law and Crime. But then they write this. On multiple calls, often using the PAC numbers of other inmates, the defendant is explicit about his intention to use public statements to alter public perception. And the defendant leaves no doubt that the narrative he wants to leave is the potential jury pool's perception of this criminal proceeding. And examples of these efforts, they say, are plentiful. And then they black out and they redact all of those.
Oh, they redacted all of it. This redaction is what he's done. And again, they're going to be on him even more. He is not a regular defendant. Let's be honest. Okay, he's not a regular defendant at all. I'll just go out on a little limb in my own opinion. I'm surprised he hasn't been Epsteined yet. Take that as you will. But, you know, they are going to be on him. You can't tell me that he has not said anything incriminating. I guarantee he has. Why would they be filing all this? And they redact all the stuff that he's done with this. This guy, I will be surprised if Diddy ever gets out of jail, and I will be surprised if Diddy doesn't Epstein himself.
Those examples. First, Bradford, why the redactions?
Well, the redactions probably because they don't want it to then make it public what his position is. Like, I didn't do it. This one witness, she did X, Y, Z. I'm sure that there's things in there that the government doesn't want the public to hear because the government has their narrow view of what's going on, right? And whenever the defendant then wants to address that narrow view and put out his own statement or address it in a different way, they want to curtail that because they have a certain way to look at a case. They don't want anyone looking at it differently. I find this to be the most ironic thing. It's like it's hypocrisy at its best because although the New York Southern District office does not themselves leak things often, they have in the past, but in this case, I don't.
You are unlikely to succeed in composing an essay if you rely on ChatGPT. Thousands of students were.
I don't think there's any evidence that they leaked anything. They also know that other individuals are leaking things that help their case, and they're not curtailing it. Like the video of Cassie was certainly leaked. My guess is it was her attorney who leaked it. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that it would be her attorney who leaked that video because that video was in their possession, and that video is something that helps her case to say, hey, I'm not a defendant, I'm a victim here. I will guarantee that the government knew that video was in their possession and that the government knew that some individual was leaking that. And they could have found out who leaked it, but they don't care because it helps their case.
That's what Combs attorneys have been saying. Yeah, that's what Combs attorneys have been saying.
Yeah, and if it didn't help their case, 100%. And if it didn't help their case, they would then be curtailing it.
Well, here's a specific example that's not redacted, that's not blacked out about what they say happens. Because they say after the court entered a gag order, by the way, to not disclose information about the case that applies to the prosecutors, investigative teams, law enforcement, but it also includes Sean Combs and his attorneys. The prosecutors write, the defendant enlisted family members to plan and execute a social media campaign around the defendant's birthday with the intention of influencing the potential jury.
Ha! I said this. I literally said this. That is so crazy. I watched this. If you guys didn't watch this, it was Diddy's kids. It was pretty sad. It was sad for the kids, right? Because they're all sitting around the table. Even the little tiny little girl, she looks to be maybe 2, maybe 18 months old or so. But all of his kids around a table with a birthday cake, singing happy birthday to daddy in jail. And it's sad to watch, but I knew and I commented and said, this is exactly what he wants. He's using his kids because everybody else, you see all of Hollywood, just quiet, silence. No one has spoken out. These people's names are being thrown out all over social media and they don't have a single word to say about it, right? They've turned their back on Diddy. That phone call that was leaked of him and his son, again, he talks about Jay-Z. His son tells him that Jay-Z has ghosted them. So the only people that Diddy really has to do his bidding at this point is his kids and his mom, who some people claim is really his aunt, but that's just speculation. Either way, he has his kids to do his bidding. And that's exactly what he's doing. And the prosecutors are alleging this, that the defendant enlisted family members to plan and execute a social media campaign around the defendant's birthday with the intention of influencing the potential jury in this criminal proceeding. And let's listen to the rest of that.
In this criminal proceeding. And by the way, we covered this on Sidebar. We played that video for you where you can hear his kids wishing him a happy birthday. Combs is on the other line, seems to be happy. But the prosecutor's right. At the defendant's carefully curated direction, the defendant's children posted a video to the respective social media accounts showing the defendant's children gathered to celebrate the defendant's birthday. The defendant, from within the MDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, then monitored the analytics, i.e. audience engagement, and explicitly discussed with his family how to ensure that the video had its desired effect on potential jury members in this case. Radford, is that a stretch to say that this is tampering with the jury? Or could they say, hey, look, we're just trying to show positivity to change the public perception about him? What do you make of that allegation?
Yeah. I make very little of that allegation. Again, I think that, when you're in this situation and you can put out some PR that makes you look better than what they're saying. And listen, he's done a lot of good. It's not like he hasn't done good in his career. He has done good in his career, pointing out the good things that he's done in his career, pointing out that it's his birthday, pointing out that he's got a bunch of kids, to quote unquote affect the potential jury pool. There is no jury yet. The jury pool could be from Staten Island. It could be from, Manhattan. I mean, the fact is that anything you put on your social media could affect a potential jury pool that we have no idea where they're pulling from, and we have no idea who they are. I think it's a huge stretch to say that that would affect a jury pool. Would I think that it would affect, perception of Sean Combs? Sure. And what's wrong with that? He's not talking about the case. It's not a gag order on.
I think this defense attorney is being a defense attorney, okay? He's very sympathetic to Diddy and kind of has a counter to everything. So I guess, again, he's just being a defense attorney. But honestly, Diddy is he's the damn devil, in my opinion. He just is. Using your kids, yes, it could definitely taint a potential jury pool. Even Gene Deal, the ex-bodyguard of Diddy, who's spoken out all over social media, he watched this video and said, that just makes me sad. He even felt bad. And I mean, he said a lot of things about Diddy. Not good things. So, yeah, I think he definitely orchestrated that and made sure it got out on social media to pull at people's heartstrings. And you think people in New York or all over New York are not paying attention to this case? Of course they are.
Happy birthday to Sean Combs. And it's not a gag order to say, hey, at one point he gave, $50,000 to St. Jude's Hospital. That's not the quote unquote gag order.
So let me.
What's up?
Hi, Jira. We brought you here today to let you know that we made the business decision to switch to ClickUp. Your performance has been decreasing over the last few quarters. There's no innovation, no new features, poor customer support, and
Let me push back on that a little bit because, and this was something that I wondered because, his son had taken over his Instagram and was posting videos of his father's music videos and behind the scenes footage. And I was curious at the time about what the purpose might have been. But this is what prosecutors say in their filing. The defendant's own words make clear that his intent is to improperly influence the jury pool in this criminal proceeding. During other calls, the defendant makes clear his intention to anonymously publish information that he thinks will help his defense in this.
So Diddy's just out here on these phone calls saying, his own words that he intends to influence the jury pool with this social media campaign. And listen, social media is crazy powerful. And I think we all, realize that to some extent. But it's so powerful that, again, I'll bring up the Karen Reed trial. That was an online campaign that was massive. And it was effective. And I think Diddy, Diddy's not stupid. He's not stupid. And he knows, there's a lot of power that lies on social media. So for him to be wanting to start a campaign with this, I get why. Because if he can get enough people believing that he's a good guy and he didn't do any of this and the government's just after him and blah, 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 you'd be amazed at what people believe.
This case. And then there's a portion that is redacted, but it also continues. The defendant's efforts to obstruct the integrity of this proceeding also includes relentless efforts to contact potential witnesses, including victims of his abuse, who could provide powerful testimony against him. For example, on October 4th, 2024, in a call involving the defendant and one of his adult sons, the defendant says, and then again, it's redacted, and then they write, provides the clear inference that the defendant's goal is to blackmail victims and witnesses either into silence or providing testimony helpful to his defense. So Bradford, in other words, they're saying, A, they have him on tape saying, I want you to put forward this social media content to help my defense. And B, communications about him trying to reach out to people in the case and maybe using his family. Now, what do you think about that?
So those are two different things. The first part of it about him reaching out about social media, I don't put much weight into it.
He doesn't put much weight into anything, it seems, but I do. Okay, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm just being honest here. I'm wondering if this is the threat that he made towards Jade's Jay-Z and others. Because, again, there was two parts of this phone call. The beginning where Diddy is telling his son, hey, get rid of all the pizza boxes. Clearly code for whatever. I personally think it's code for VHS tapes, shape of a small pizza box, I guess. Other people think it means kids. There's a lot of theories on what they think he meant by that, but obviously it was code for something. But the second part of that call, I found more interesting because he tells his son, has Jay reached out? Jay clearly meaning Jay-Z. And his son says, no, he's ghosting Pops. He's MIA. So then Diddy says, oh, so they think because I'm in here, it's all sweet. Meaning, oh, they think because I'm in here that everything's cool. Like they don't have to do anything. Like they don't have to worry about it. He's like, you let them MFers know that release date for that new Netflix movie or show, whatever he called it, is like coming up. Now, what does that say to you? You let them know that release date, to me, that's you let them know that I got some tapes that the feds don't have of them and I can release them. You let them know that. So that threat, I wonder if that's the threat they just meant in those documents. I don't know.
I think it's something that every defendant that's popular will do. It's something that every defendant that is popular has done. When you have, these allegations, and there's certain allegations that, this guy's a bad guy, you're going to have social media saying that he's a good guy. And whether or not it is orchestrated by the defendant or orchestrated by a PR team, it makes no difference to me. The second part of that, if he's trying to reach out to witnesses, that's the part that, obviously is probably their strongest argument, right? If they have witnesses that are willing to come in or people that are willing to testify to say, hey, listen, he gave me XYZ in order to say XYZ, that's completely different. I don't think they have that, because if they did have that, I think they would be charging for every single witness that he has tried to do. The government is not just going to sit back and be like, oh, he paid that guy, we're not going to charge him for that. They're going to charge him for every single little thing that he has done or has attempted to do. So they, just not one count of obstruction. They could hit him with 10 counts of obstruction for every witness. I just don't know if that's what they have. I don't put a lot of faith in the allegations from the government when I have seen in my career those allegations fall short of what they're actually saying in those documents.
And I guess if they don't charge his family members or people that, he's charged with racketeering conspiracies, accused of reaching out to alleged co-conspirators too. If the government doesn't charge any of those people, what does that tell you? And by the way, should we anticipate charges against?
So that kid on the screen there, the one next to the fluffy hair, this guy, this is Christian. Okay, and he goes by King. He looks the most like Diddy, and I think he acts the most like Diddy. There have definitely been allegations lobbed at him. This is Justin. They have different mothers. These two, this is one of the twins. These two are both Kim Porter's kids. This one is, his mother's name is Misa. But Justin and Christian here are alleged to be the ones that took turns on Justin Bieber while he was strapped down. That is the allegation. And then Janice Combs here, Diddy's mother. Jaguar Wright and a few others have came out and said that Janice is not Diddy's real mom. Okay, they are claiming that she is his aunt, and that Diddy's real mom also died when he was small. They are also alleging that Janice Combs is the person that kind of made Diddy who's Diddy. because they said that she thought that he looked a lot like his father, and she had a intimate relationship with Diddy's father, and she's also had an intimate relationship with Diddy. There is a disturbing video of her and Diddy, and it's alleged to be after one of the freak-offs, because in the Cassie filings, she talks about getting IVs. Diddy would give out IVs, literal IVs, to the people that had participated in the freak-offs to replenish them, because these would go on for hours and days sometimes. So Janice and Diddy are in this video together, and she gives him this really creepy kiss. And then he says, yeah, me and Mom Dukes are just sitting here getting our IVs. We're getting IVs together. And it was really weird. Her hair was like all messed up and stuff. But she's been alleged to participate in freak-offs with Diddy, having threesomes with Diddy. Again, these are the allegations. I am not saying they're true, but they are the allegations. So both of his sons have allegations lobbed against them, along with his mother. I haven't heard anything about the daughters or Quincy. And again, Quincy is not in this photograph, but Quincy is the oldest son. He is the only one that is not biologically Diddy's. He is Kim Porter's oldest child, with a man named Albie Sharp. So the only one of Diddy's boys that I've heard that hasn't done that is Quincy. I haven't heard any allegations against him yet. So,
I mean, family members, if this is what's happened, if this is what the government's alleging?
If the government actually has the goods on this obstruction, yeah, then there would be no reason not to charge them. But the problem is that I don't think they actually have.
Finally, a concealer that understands mature skin. This is creeping into your fine lines and wrinkles and
the goods. I think that what they're really looking at is that individuals might have reached out to him to say, hey, listen, this XYZ happened to me. I'm going to file a civil lawsuit. I'm demanding $50,000. And it could be that they're settling civil lawsuits, and the government always feels when you settle a civil lawsuit that is under the guise of buying off a witness. That's always been their position. Doesn't matter what case it is, doesn't matter who you're representing. If there is a civil lawsuit that is pending, or a civil lawsuit that could be filed, that a potential witness says, hey, I want to settle and I want XYZ amount of money, and you give it to them, the government's position is always you gave it to them to buy their silence or to change their testimony. That's just.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Is that not what it is? I mean, should the government's legal position be that? No. But if we're just talking amongst ourselves, yes, that's exactly what it is. They are silencing that person. They are buying them off. They are paying them off. So, I mean, duh. That is what they're doing.
Just the way that it always is. In every case that I've ever had, and in every case that I've ever read about, in terms of federal witnesses that also file civil lawsuits.
Bradford, I got to ask you about this part, because prosecutors say, they write this, quote, then after the defendant was in custody, BOP investigators recovered the following notes from the defendant's cell during a pre-planned nationwide sweep of BOP facilities. The strong inference to be drawn from the defendant's communications with Witness 2, and I'll explain later on who that is, and his personal notes, is that the defendant paid Witness 2 after she posted her statement. So Bradford, first, we had reported that there was this sweep by the feds of the MDC, and maybe those notes were a part of what they discovered. But then Sean Combs' team has just responded in their own filing today. And they write, defense counsel has recently learned that the prosecutors are in possession of attorney-client privilege material, including the defendant's own written notes. This search and seizure are in violation of Mr. Combs' 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights. Moreover, The targeted seizure of a pretrial detainee's work product and privileged materials created in preparation for trial is outrageous government conduct amounting to a substantive due process violation. Because the prosecutors are currently in possession of privileged material and are actively using this material to detain the defendant, the defense requests an immediate evidentiary hearing. Two sides to this, Bradford. What do you think?
I side with the defense. As usual, I side with the defense. Not always, but in this case, to me, it really is outrageous that they're using his notes. And if it's work product, which I believe that it is work product, I don't think they should be able to. Think about this. They're going into cells and they're looking for usually weapons, illegal items, things that you shouldn't have, phones, cell phones and tablets, things that are snuck into the jail, drugs. And here he probably has a pile of paperwork or notebooks, and they start going through each notebook and reading them and determining whether or not these notes should be used against them in a court of law. It really is one of those positions where why you don't want your client in a jail situation, why you want him bonded out, because while he's in jail, if they can just do this, how do you contact your client? How do you give him paperwork? How do you give him certain things from your law office? How does he take notes to discuss with you the next time he's going to see you when you come to the jail? So he's taking notes in a notebook thinking like, this is what I want to discuss with my lawyer. And then they seize that and they go through it and they use it against you. I do think it's overreaching. I think that there is some case law. The only thing that I'm worried about is if they say this is some sort of crime or a crime fraud exception where the notes themselves are making reference to, obstruction or something like that. They could try to make that argument, but it's really a bootstrap argument because what they're saying is we seize the notes first and then we determine that they could be crime fraud exception.
Right.
That's really the problem. It's not that they knew they were a crime fraud exception and they seized them afterwards.
Right. So just to be clear about everything right now, first of all, before I let you go, because Bradford has to go, but we have more of this to go through, I wanted to ask you big picture about this. Not necessarily whether everything we've talked about so far is about whether he's going to be charged with an additional crime. It's about whether or not he is entitled to bail. And that's the main issue. Based on these allegations put forward by prosecutors, and yes, it's a lower standard than we're talking about in a kind of a criminal case about a conviction of with a criminal charge. Do you think prosecutors could potentially meet the standard that he should not be released?
Yeah, I mean, listen, in federal court, it's very difficult to get bond on any case. Even the cases where you're somewhat entitled to bond, it's still hard to get because these prosecutors come in with these allegations, and no federal judge wants to give someone the opportunity to flee or to influence a witness or to do things. So a lot of federal judges, they don't want to stick their neck out if they don't have to, and if the law is on their side and there's some discretion there. In these cases, it's up to the defense to show why he should get bond, to show how he should get bond, and to put forth a bond package that's acceptable to the court. So
I don't think Diddy should get bond. I mean, he's just the biggest flight risk ever. A person's access to private jets, boats, all kinds of stuff. I mean, if he could get by boat even somehow, I'm sure he could figure out how. He's just a gigantic flight risk. And if he's doing all of this stuff while he's in jail, contacting victims, witnesses, all this kind of thing, what the hell is he going to do outside of jail? I mean, it's a bad idea to let him out. I think it's best to keep him in there. And that's obviously, I think he's been denied bail like 3 different times. I forgot to share something about the Gypsy Rose stuff. I'm going to be done with the Diddy stuff for now. But I'll just end on this. Let's see. Let me share my screen again. Sir Morbid, who has a YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys know who he is if you follow the Gypsy stuff. Looks like on Discord. This looks like a Discord chat to me. I have a Discord, but Sir Morbid, I guess, wrote to Ken, and Ken responded about their breakup or alleged breakup. So Sir Morbid said, "That's good news because I grew up with dogs all of my life." Oh, by the way, Ken's dog Parker had gotten out of the gate and he posted on social media and the dog was found. So Sir Morbid is saying that's good news because I grew up with dogs all my life and I know how devastating that could be. There are family members so happy to hear about Parker. You know, I gotta ask, anything you want to say now about the breakup? Or you and Gypsy are just together due to being under contract with Lifetime? Or keeping it out of the public eye for the safety of your unborn child? Question mark. If you have any comment you'd like me to share on tonight's live to clarify the rumors, etc. Ken responded to him and said, "We have not broken up. LOL. I've seen that theory. And no, we aren't contractually obligated to appear together. The show follows us in our life. It doesn't lead us or control us. Think about last season. Did they force her and her ex to film after they separated? Nope. So that doesn't really make any sense. I just chalk it up to creators needing to crap out a video once in a while for views and relevancy with baseless claims. Nothing I'm not used to at this point." So we will leave that there and I will see you guys next time. Bye for now.